So let's talk about indoor air quality. We've talked about smog and other pollutants that are exterior, but the indoor air quality can be just as important. The U.S. Green Building Council says that we spend up to, on average in the U.S., 90% of our time indoors, which means what we are exposed to from pollutants that come and are emitted inside of our buildings and our spaces can be just as dangerous, if not more, than the things that we are exposed to outside. And there are a lot of culprits for this. Some of it is chemicals that are in the materials that we use in our buildings. Another source of this is not having enough adequate fresh air coming into the building. So the ventilation itself. Humidity levels can also increase things, other pollutants such as mold. And when we have a buildup of an unhealthy atmosphere indoors that's contributing to poor air quality indoors, we can call this sick buildings. Now we looked at this a little bit in module 1, but we call this sick building syndrome. And this can come from a variety of sources. It often causes adverse effects such as headaches, eye strain, respiratory and circulatory diseases, bronchial irritation, asthma. And in this example, we can see it coming from or related to a variety of sources. On the very top of the building, we have the HVAC, mechanical ventilation systems. The indoor air quality could be determined by the filtration that we're using on those systems. At the very bottom of this drawing, we're seeing a garage. And so, if a building's not adequately ventilated, some of those exhaust from parking garages can even get into buildings, or smoking. There's all kinds of sources for indoor pollution. So indoor pollution causes particles in the air that we call VOCs. You should become intimately familiar with VOCs. VOC stands for volatile organic compound. Now, these are compounds, by saying that they are organic compounds, they very closely mimic compounds that your body can absorb. Now, this means that your body can inhale these pollutants, and because they are volatile organic in their bindings, they'll actually merge with your body's tissue a lot easier, which can then cause all kinds of problems. So let's look at some sources. Formaldehyde is something that is used in the glues and binders of lots of furniture. So things like particle board, MDF, which is multiple or medium density fiberboard. A lot of those pressed products where they may have high recycled content, but if they're using glues and resins in their manufacturing that have formaldehyde, then that actually can start off-gassing into the air. Now, there are different types of formaldehyde, and the one we most commonly see is urea formaldehyde. This is probably one of the most harmful types. We've also got phenol formaldehyde, which can be a little friendlier, but it can cause all kinds of respiratory, and actually it's a neurotoxin. You'll find this again in MDF, but especially a lot of furniture. Formaldehyde, also being a VOC, can be known as a biological agent. So biological agents overall are things like VOCs, formaldehyde, radon, carbon monoxide, cigarette smoke. So let's actually look in a house, in a typical house, and see where some actual sources may be. So in this one, there could be mold if there's a buildup of moisture and not enough fresh air in a space. Mold can cause all kinds of respiratory problems, as well as degrading materials. Radon also can come from water heaters and different chemicals that are in there. We've also got VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that can be emitted from paints, from flooring, from glues in the flooring. You can have carbon monoxide leaking from gas heaters. That can be another source. Here we've got secondhand smoke if people are smoking on the inside, or smoke from not cleaned chimney sweeps if you have a fire on the inside, or even pet dander. Pet dander can build up in carpets and actually cause a lot of asthma and problems like that. As we said, pet dander. In the kitchen, there can be VOCs that are caused from cleaning products, from formaldehyde in the cabinetry, possibly even pesticides that are put out in the food that you eat, or even in pesticides to combat ants or roaches, or other kinds of pest control. You can also get carbon monoxide into the air from gas stoves. In the bathroom, we also see a big culprit for mold. This is especially like we saw in the basement, areas that tend to build up a lot of moisture, and if there's not adequate ventilation, you can get a lot of mold buildup. In this example, we also see in a bedroom there are dust mites. Dust mites can build up especially in fabric. Carpets are a huge culprit of holding in dust mites, and these can start to adversely affect respiratory systems. But we also can see VOCs in wallpaper and in the furniture, and again the paint. There are a number of sources. And going back to our example of the multitude of places that we can find indoor pollution, in offices there are some other ones that we may not think about. A lot of plastics themselves can emit VOCs into the air. Even computers, printers, especially like large print operations in offices, all the chemicals that go into the printing inks and things tend to creep into the air. Another source is the HVAC ventilation system itself. If there's not proper filtration, either between if there's not proper filtration, being able to filter out VOCs, or if your vents are not properly cleaned, they can be a source of indoor air pollution. Also, as we've said, the air itself, we need to have enough fresh air coming in to be able to wash and flow VOCs out. So a room that doesn't have adequate ventilation can start building up VOCs.